terrible disease we've got. Let's get well. Let's not do this anymore. But what's actually happening is the reverse. The same people who created the crisis are still in charge. They're still running the show. And so now they're coalescing, and we heard Mr. Brown just yesterday address Congress and say, well, what we have to do now is globalize the economy, and the United States and Great Britain and all the other nations of the world have to get together now and solve this problem. And he used all those nice words like solve this problem. But what he was really saying is that we're going to continue doing exactly what we have been, only more so, except we're going to do it on the global basis. So that's where we're headed, and which means it's going to get worse, and it's going to be globalized, and it's going to move us a huge step closer toward their ultimate goal of global government based on the model of collectivism, which means total government, strong government at the top, and people serving the government.
Fascism?
The other way around.
Fascism?
Fascism, Nazism, communism, all different words for collectivism.
All the isms, all the same thing.
All the same thing. The word is collectivism, and that's what we've got.
Sure. And back here in the States, Nikki Rapana has been doing the great amount of work and trying to bring the issue of communitarianism to people so they understand how the collectivism is being employed at the local level. It's very insidious how the cities are being reconfigured. Whether they're small or large, it doesn't matter. This is a combined, concerted effort that has been on the drawing boards and in the planning stages for a long, long time. And how long do you think it goes back in modern terms?
I know precisely where it goes back. In fact, I've been writing on that very issue now, Jeff, for my next book, which I hope to get out this year.
Oh, very good.
And some of it you'll already see on the Internet for the Freedom Force website. It's in a section called The Future is Calling, and there's an essay called The Chasm. And
give us that URL, please.
Oh, okay, that's freedomforceinternational.org.
Okay.
freedomforceinternational.org. And then there's a section called The Issues. And then at the bottom of that page, there's a series of essays, and the first one is called The Chasm. And the chasm has to do with the great divide between this thing called collectivism, which is all of those isms that we dread, and the other thing, which we used to have in America, but it's been pretty well beat down, individualism. It's a very profound difference between the two.
No, it's not trendy anymore to be an individual. You've got to have a flock or a covey or something around you, or you're nothing.
Yeah, right. And we've been trained in the schools to think that being an individualist means that we're selfish.
Oh, it's self-centered, selfish, arrogant, elitist, and all the best.
All of that.
It's a very sick
imbued into us.
And very clever and very insidious psychology that these people have put together.
But anyway, in the development of that essay, I was able to go back to an interview with Norman Dodd. Norman Dodd, I think it was 1954, was the chief investigator for the Rense Committee, which was a congressional committee to investigate tax-exempt foundations. And I interviewed him some years ago on camera when I was back in Virginia. He was an old guy then, on his last legs, and I'm glad I got the interview because he passed away shortly after that. But he told in this interview, and he also testified before various committees, but it's all there. He said that he interviewed the heads of these tax-exempt foundations after World War II, like the Carnegie Endowment Fund for International Peace, the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundations, and so forth. And he asked them, what are you fellows doing here? Because there was a great hue and cry at that time and among a lot of the American people. But what are these foundations doing? They're promoting communism. They're promoting fascism. They're doing everything that they consider to be un-American, just the opposite. Right. And so he interviewed them. He said, "What are you guys doing? Because my job is to investigate them." And they told him quite frankly that their mission was to convert the United States. So, in fact, the words of Gaither, who was the head of the Ford Foundation, were just exactly as follows. He said, "Our mission, Mr. Dodd, is to change life in the United States so as to comfortably merge it with the Soviet Union." End quote. And Dodd almost fell off of his chair. So the whole story starts back there. Why did they want to do that? And how could they do it? And it turned out that the reason they wanted to do it is not because they had any great love for the Soviet Union, but because the Soviet Union was the greatest example at the time of collectivism. And they thought the collectivism was the ideal model. And they felt the United States should become collectivist. And so to merge the United States with a collectivist country like the Soviet Union and all the other nations of the world was their goal. And so they said, how do we do this? And this all came out in these hearings. And they said, the way to do this is we have to capture control of the educational system of America. We have to rewrite the history books. We have to change the thinking of the American people to give up what they have been used to, is individualism. And they finally came to the conclusion that the best way to do that was to engage the United States in war. So here we had the amazing situation of the Carnegie Endowment Fund for International Peace coming to the conclusion that war was the best way to change life in the United States so that the people would give up their cherished liberties. And so they started to promote war. And then the next step was, well, they provided all this money to fund, they created what they call as the American Historical Association. They retained the services of 20 young men who were pursuing their doctorates in history. They got them their doctorates. They sent them to London and indoctrinated them in the beauties of collectivism. They came back to the United States and they launched what we now call the progressive education movement, that we normally associate with John Dewey and all of the other boys.
Oh, yeah.
This was all done with foundation money. And it was all done by people who wanted to change life in the United States to collectivism. And so that's where it started. And I can tell you it was about 1922 when they really got a handle on the educational system. So that's the beginning of it. And anybody who wants to see the details, I encourage them to come to the website and check it out.
Very good. Also, we need to give credit to Charlotte Thompson Iserbeet and her amazing book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America.
Oh, yeah, she did an amazing job of pulling stuff together there.
700 pages. For you educators out there, if you want to understand what's happened to your system, with your, I talked to one fellow, 27 years at a middle school, the dean of discipline, and talked to him a little bit about the changes in the educational system, the government schools and so forth. And he was, okay, and humored me. I could see he really didn't believe it. But I said, I'm going to bring you a book. I want you to at least take a look at it, thumb through it. So I took him the book, and I went back and got it, 3 weeks later, something like that. He said, he looked at me. He said, this is exactly what did happen. She's right. It's all right here.
Yeah.
And he hadn't seen it with any clarity, but they gave so much to the idea of groupthink. What's good for the group is good for the entire body of younger people, and the individual is shunned. The individual is beaten up with peer pressure. It takes an extraordinarily strong and wise young man or woman to resist that. It's tough.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be cool. They want to be People magazine. They want to be film. They want to be music savvy. They want to be in there. And they've all collected little bits and pieces that, as you know, from the pop culture to make their own personalities. And that's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I was too when I was in school, and it was already extant, and I graduated in 1953 from the University of Michigan, and I realize now that I've been totally imbued with the concepts of collectivism. I'd been taught.
Even then?
Oh, yeah. It was well underway by that time. I had firmly believed when I came out of school that the group was more important than the individual, and that the individual must be sacrificed, if necessary, for the greater good of the greater number.
There you go.
Sometimes have we heard that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, indeed. Well, we watch it, sometimes slack-jawed, almost always amazed, but somehow lurking in the background is the knowledge that this is where it was going, and we knew it. You saw it back then. That's very interesting. Ed, thanks for the time. It's great to talk with you again, as always. And I look forward to your next book.
Yes, I hope to get it done soon.
Good. Let me know.
Keep on keeping on, Jeff.
Thanks, Ed. Good night. G. Edward Griffin, truly a remarkable man and an awesome book. Among his many awesome books, Creature from Jekyll Island. All right, we're going to pause. We'll be right back in 21 hours. See you tomorrow night.